Okay guys, so this is the AIOC board, or also known as the all-in-one cable board. This was developed by Simon Cuppers. You can check out the Toads Discord link below to access the AIOC development Discord, which we've been following along, and Simon's very active in there. I'll also put a link in the GitHub to the GitHub for the AIOC below in the description too. Basically, what is this? Well, it enumerates as a sound card interface. You can use it for APRS and other applications using, say, a standard Baofeng or anything really with a Kenwood 2-pin connector similar to this. It just plugs in simply like that. It's got a USB-C port here on the top. And yeah, you can use it there for a sound card application. It has a virtual COM port on it for programming as well. You can also do, I think, virtual keying with this thing now, PTT keying. You can use this in Chirp for programming too, so there's a whole heap of different applications. And rather than going through them all here at the moment, I'll put a link, as I mentioned, to the GitHub where you can see some of the updates too. And the firmware is updated for this constantly as well. Now, by the way, you can make these boards yourself simply by going to the GitHub and downloading the files. I got mine made by JLC PCB.
JLC PCB offer a variety of services for those interested in electronics and prototyping, including manufacturing of high-quality printed circuit boards, PCB assembly services, and 3D printing. The Easy EDA PCB design tool also makes prototyping a breeze and integrates directly with JLC PCB components when ordering. You can start an instant quote easily from the front page of their website, or you can get 1 to 8 layered PCBs from $2 and $54 worth of coupons using the link in the description below.
Check out also Temporarily Offline and also Big Jim at FEP Labs too. They've done plenty of videos on this board too. But for the purpose of this video is basically to show you how to put together your AIOC board. So you probably come across this video from my shop. If you haven't, I've got a number of these which are available now for sale. I am selling these to VK at the moment. I might possibly be able to do them overseas, maybe in like batches of 2 or 3 to make it worthwhile with the postage. Need to check it. If you're interested in getting these overseas, as I mentioned, they're only available for VK at the moment, then please leave a comment below to let me know that you'd be interested and how many you would be interested in, because then I can sort of order a decent quantity and get them shipped out to you, or work out what I can do. Let me know where you're at as well. If you're in the US or something like that, or the UK, then we can organise that too. So anyway, if you've purchased this in VK at this stage, what do you get? Well, you get the AIOC board, which I've got right here. You'll also receive 2 plugs, the 2.5mm and the 3.5mm. Now these might vary. I've been experimenting with which plugs actually work. These plugs here that I used are just from JCar, so there's nothing really special about these plugs. These ones here are from Core Electronics, and you'll also get this 3D printed case too, which helps you, this 3D printed model, which you can put the plugs into to solder onto the board a lot easier. So you'll get all of that. Now these also come with the option, I can solder the plugs on for you, and I can also program it up for you so that it's fully working and it's just plug and play. However, just as standard, they just come with the board, unprogrammed, and no plugs attached. So select which option you'd like when you order these off of the my shop, and I'll put a link below as well to that. So let's show you now how to put the plugs on, and using the 3D printed mold here to do that. So the first thing that you'll want to do is just take away the shrouds. We don't need these. Whether they're metal or plastic, it doesn't really matter. This one's got a little plastic sleeve in it too. Now, these are stereo plugs, so there's 2 pins here that solder directly onto the top of the board, and you can see here the pads on the board where we solder the 2 pins on, and then there's also a ground pad here on the bottom. Now, don't make the same mistake as me. The first time that I did this and put the wrong ones in the wrong spot, there is a spot there for the 2.5mm and 3.5mm here at the bottom. So 2.5 at the top, 3.5 at the bottom. The first thing you want to do is just cut off this tab here at the back. You don't need this, and just cut it flush with a pair of side cutters. Just be careful because it will be sharp now. Do that for both plugs. Just inspect the 2 pins here. Make sure that they're relatively straight, that they're not bent at a weird angle or something like that. Sometimes they will be sort of at a weird angle, so maybe just try to just straighten them up a little bit. So plug the 2.5 and the 3.5 in as far as it'll go. Just straighten them up there so that they are looking like that. You've got here access to the bottom of the pads. So all you need to do now is just slot the board in, and there's a little notch here at the top. It's a bit hard to see here on the camera, but there's a little notch in the 3D printed mold here that corresponds to the top of this here. Just slide that in now on the top. So now at the bottom, you just want to make sure that those tabs are flush with the top of the pad. There's the big ground pad at the bottom. Just give them a little push with a pair of pliers or something. It's not super critical because we're going to be soldering them anyway. So basically all you need to do is just come in here, and we're going to put just a dab of solder here on the bottom of the pad, and then flip it over, and then you could see those pins. Just make sure that they sort of sit on top of the pads, that they're aligned, that they're not shorting out or anything like that. And then all you want to do is just come in with your iron, and we're going to solder all of those into place. Right, now that that's done, you can use a screwdriver, or I'm just going to use the front of my pliers here just to push the 3.5mm plug out. A little bit more, push the 2.5mm out a little bit, and then just work it loose from the 3D print. Just make sure that it all looks good. Go to the back here of the board, and let's just resolder the pads just to make sure that they're making a nice solid join, and then just plug it into a radio and make sure that it fits, which it does, and that's pretty much all there is to it. All the links are below in the description and also in the comments, so let me know anyway. If you want one of these boards, order away, and if we get sufficient interest, then I'll do another batch as well, and international, yep, we'll see what happens.